Look at that. I have a special guest, Jane from Style is Substance. How you doing, Jane?
I am absolutely fantastic because after years of hard work, I finally finished my master paper, which is on Zach's favorite director, Akira
Oh no.
Kurosawa.
Hate him. I hate him.
So my paper is about like the representation of gender in Kurosawa Akira's film, Rashomon specifically. It's a really interesting paper, and I had a lot of fun making it. But today we're going to set aside academia and watch
God,
some WatchMojo.
I almost fell asleep there. I'm sure Akira
Uh,
Kurosawa will be here because we are actually going to be watching a video called Top 10 Classic Directors from WatchMojo.com. And do you have any
Jenny,
predictions apart from Kurosawa being here? Like, what do you think this list will be like?
I'm hoping to see Billy Wilder. Okay, well, how do they
Mm.
define this classic? That's my first question.
Well, that's what we have to find out. Okay, I don't know. Let's
Because
say that.
classic can mean anything. I might see John Hughes on here. I don't know what they
Oh,
mean by
right.
classic.
I think um I think Charlie Chaplin will be here.
Oh, right. Yeah, Chaplin's great. Yeah. So
Hitchcock.
I'm expecting Hitchcock, Chaplin, maybe Billy Wilder if we're lucky. And even that's pretty kind of normie core in grand scheme of things. Uh mm, I
I'm
think
expecting
like
Kurosawa and
yeah.
Wells.
Yeah, Orson Welles. We'll see who's let's see who's in this.
And you're a big fan of Kurosawa. Well, any of the
Mhm.
names we just mentioned, like I'd be happy with all of them on here. John Ford should be here. Like there's a bunch of fucking names that should be here, but I think that Watch Mojo, it's normally like the safest list in the world with like one curveball eventually. That'll be like, oh, cool. That's a cool pick.
All right, cameras.
Yeah, you'll get Wilder.
Action!
What's a movie without a good director?
Better.
Oh,
Nothing.
So the
Fellini.
Che imbroglione che sei.
oh, okay.
We're
Allora
gonna
non ci
get
vuole la
Fellini.
parte nel
That's
film.
cool for me.
Hai ragione tu, sai. Non c'è la parte nel film. Non c'è neanche il film.
Welcome to WatchMojo.com,
Oh,
and
Cecil
today
B.
we're counting
DeMille.
down our picks for the top 10 classic directors. For this list, we focused on directors that came
Okay,
before the
Kurosawa.
new Hollywood group of the
Yeah.
late 60s and the first wave of film school
Okay,
directors,
not
meaning
too bad of a
these film
criteria.
pioneers must have directed at least one movie before 1970.
Oh, didn't know if
Number
Fritz would
10,
make the cut.
David Lean.
I think he's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brief Encounter. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I
Was
think Brief Encounters are really. I haven't seen too many of his movies actually, but of course, Lawrence of Arabia is
mm,
incredible. Uh, and Brief Encounter, I think like that film like just had me super invested. It was interesting to see him go from like uh I guess kind of like this large scale like movie to something a bit more intimate, and I
yeah.
think that range is really demonstrated in his filmography. I think I've seen
Honestly,
a few other
I can
films,
only
but
compare that to like Kubrick post 2001, right? Because like David Lean before Bridge on the River Kwai is like these kind of intimate portraits. He worked with Noel Howard, I think his name was, the playwright or whatever, the screenwriter who wrote all of his early movies that are kind of like intimate and like kind of
Mhm.
lower scale. And then all of a sudden it's like Lawrence of Arabia and fucking Bridge on the River Kwai and Dr. Zhivago, and it's like these
Yeah.
huge sprawling things that uh, are almost like incomparable to his early work, but that sensitivity of Brief Encounter, and we've talked about doing Brief Encounter before. It just keeps kind of falling through. But
Yeah.
David Lean, I totally support being here. I'm kind of surprised he's here, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, not too bad of a start.
Like,
But
yeah, it's a
yeah.
pretty good start. And his, you mentioned Lawrence of Arabia. I think what makes David Lean so cool is that like those are like massive epics about like the insecurities of masculinity on the largest possible scale. Like it's Bridge on the River Kwai too. Like it's fucking awesome. I'm glad he's here.
I, th I
I'm
think like
glad.
I think what I really like about Lawrence of Arabia is like the main character is just such like a powerhouse.
Hmm.
I love seeing like everything he does, even if it's like kind of like completely deplorable. I see
The
some
trick.
people, yeah, I've seen some people weirdly say that the film is like just like is almost just like a hero narrative, but I feel like it's very critical of him.
It's not, it's a tragedy. And
Yeah.
it's a tragedy of what I just said, of that like masculine insecurity. And I love that it's a gay film. It honestly is. Lawrence
Oh.
was gay, and Lawrence
Mhm.
was raped in that film. Like it's an incredible. The trick is not to mind that it hurts. Like it's so fucking good. It's the best I've seen Peter O'Toole. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen. Um, it's so good. I'm so down with David Lean. I have a huge book on David Lean over there that's just as epic as his fucking movies are that I can't. It's daunting. I don't want to start it ever, but I mean, it's a good doorstop. Yeah, anything else on David Lean?
No, I haven't seen too much yet, but he's somebody that I'm definitely interested in to explore more.
All right,
And
let's hear.
I guess I would say that like the I feel like the influence of David Lean, you can really see that all throughout, like
I
even
wish you
Hollywood
could see
today.
it better though, like, because I know
Mm,
Spielberg loves Lawrence of Arabia, but Spielberg's never come close to like Spielberg actually makes that hero's tale that you were like
hmm
talking about, like the wrongful criticisms of Lawrence of Arabia. It's like Spielberg
Yeah.
watched it and actually thought that that was what it was about, and like you can see David Lean's influence in
hmm
Spielberg, but it's like the motherfucker like got all the wrong messages from it. I don't know. I didn't mean to slam Spielberg, but he's probably David Lean's most famous fan.
We can slam Spielberg. It's okay.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
probably David's most famous fan. I call him David because we're really tight, really close.
As he pointed out, it's against the rules.
Do not speak to me of rules. This is war. This is not a game of cricket.
Having first worked as a film editor, David Lean had exactly the right tools to get behind the camera by the time he started directing.
I didn't come here to watch a tribal bloodbath.
I haven't
In
watched a
fact,
WatchMojo
he went
video
on
in
to
so
create some of the most
long.
beautiful and well-regarded on-screen
Uh,
images,
I
most
haven't.
notably
I've
in
been
Lawrence of
liking it.
Arabia and Dr. Zhivago.
Easy to react to. Will they even mention Break Encounter
You could even say his ability to capture landscape was second to none.
I realize how difficult it's going to be in this godforsaken place where you can't find what you need.
though? Alec Guinness was so
But
fucking
there's the
great.
challenge.
Lean was also
Yeah.
known for bringing Charles Dickens novels to life, such
And
as Great
Star Wars
Expectations
Bruno.
and Oliver
Yeah,
Twist.
actually.
Never dare to say a
Well, the
word
original
of any
Star. I mean,
sensitive
I
person's
watched
me.
the recent Star
If you
Wars
do,
films, and
your art and
Alec Guinness is
liver will
really
be
good
tore
at
out
Chris
and
Rock and
roasted.
kind of
And
films, and then after that,
In 1990, he became one
Nobody
of
says
three
that, but it's true.
non-Americans to be honored with AFI's Lifetime Achievement Award for his work.
Truly, for some men,
Omar
nothing is
Sharif.
written unless they write it.
Number 9. Cecil
Cecil B. DeMille. Um, I mean, I really like Cecil B. DeMille, but I plan to like study him a bit more in the future. There's something phenomenal about a secret half Jew who pretended to be Christian during his stint in Hollywood, who says, "Give me 10 pages of the Bible and I'll make you $10 million." I think that says something fascinating about the frameworks of early cinema. Uh,
Mhm.
I
Was
think
it
he's. Mhm.
was it Ten Commandments that he made twice?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's kind of a testament, if you will, to
But he
like.
also made films like The Sign of the Cross, right? And like he'll tell you that it's a Christian film, but what it really is the ability to see Claudette Colbert take like a naked milk bath. Like that's what he did. Was he a master filmmaker? I mean, not only that, he's one of the building blocks of cinema. Like there's something to study here. Uh,
Mhm,
should he be on this list? Probably not, to be honest. But
mhm,
I do think he's phenomenal in his own way. But this is another one that like Spielberg of all people is like a huge fan of,
mhm.
and I don't. I it's a question of whether or not Cecil B. DeMille's like influence is a net value, is a good thing, and I'm
I-
not totally convinced of it, but that's what makes him interesting to study.
Yeah, I also feel like and I could be wrong here, but I also feel like his films, well, Spielberg may have like kind of like they say that Spielberg invented the blockbuster with Jaws, but I feel like some of Cecil B. DeMille's work, at least like by the
Hmm.
way that he talks about it, by the way that it's kind of received, I feel like those were either blockbusters too or proto blockbusters.
Oh no, for
At least,
sure.
at least in some ways. Maybe they weren't quite as big as like Jaws was, but like I mean, I think that that's kind of like what
I mean,
DeMille kind of contributed to cinema.
and if you
Um,
compare Ten Commandments to Jaws, like Jaws is a fucking elementary school project. Like so,
yeah, I'm really not
yeah,
that big on
DeMille is
Jaws.
up there. DeMille is up there. He really is because he did make blockbusters, but just the idea of trying to interpret what he's trying to mean biblically or exploitatively, or if there is a difference at all. I mean,
Yeah,
he's a
so
fascinating guy.
I feel like biblical exploitation is an interesting way to put it, at least for something like Ten Commandments, and probably
That's
just
what he did.
Samson or Samson and Delilah.
Or like he made the original, well, not the original Cleopatra, right? Because I think Theda Bara might have played Cleopatra first, but that film's been
Yeah.
lost. But like the one that we actually have Cleopatra with, once again, Claudette Colbert, like this guy put exploitation on the map when it came to like serious films. It's weird. I love it though. I love it so much. He did a
He
lot.
did not. He did not direct that film.
He directed Cleopatra with Claudette Colbert.
Oh, I was thinking the Elizabeth Taylor one.
No problem. But I think he did do the original Cleopatra after the Bara one that like no one has seen anyway.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I was like, I don't think he made the Elizabeth Taylor film. All right,
No,
you
he
ready?
definitely didn't make the Taylor film. Yeah, just count it down.
B. DeMille.
Ladies and gentlemen, young and old.
And he's also
This
mostly
may
famous
seem an
because of
unusual
I'm Ready for My
procedure,
Close-Up from the Wilder
speaking to
film.
you before the picture begins. But we have an unusual subject.
Many know his name thanks to Gloria Swanson's famous line in Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
You know, Eric von
Not a fan
Stroheim
of-
should be there.
Subsequently
He's in that
cemented his
movie. He
legend.
should be on this list, but he won't be.
And this soon became a talent at which he excelled. DeMille was also known for his larger-than-life
I'll take him over
personality,
Griffith,
which made
though,
him a
for
celebrity
sure.
in his own right.
Big Griffith will be on here, or is it after
No,
some?
I don't even think he'll get
He
a
was trying
match.
to break a record.
Should have
Could
broken
get
more
a-
than a record.
an honorable mention or something.
He started the
know.
careers of
I don't
many,
think he should.
and was one
I
of
think
the
if you have
first
Well,
to
this is
Directors, you
hey,
can't
this is
hold
8
on.
years ago, not.
Get off them boats right back. Act just like a rubber ball.
Number 8, Elia Kazan.
Elia Kazan does not deserve to be here.
Yeah. So a little bit of a hot take. I mean, maybe this will change if I watched more of his work, but I've never been that big on like on the waterfront.
Mm-mm. I don't like Elia Kazan. Um, Streetcar Named Desire, we don't talk about it because of the composition. We talk about it because of Marlon Brando and Vivian Leigh and Tennessee Williams's
Mhm.
screenplay. We don't talk about Elia Kazan's composition, his directing ever. And also, he's a fucking snitch, right? He ratted out everybody during the House Un-American Activities, like ratted out who was a communist and who wasn't. Like this guy, Elia Kazan, was kicked out of the film community for a reason, and we shouldn't forget that. He snitched on all his friends. I'll look that up and make sure, by the way, James. But
Okay.
I think I'm right.
Hmm. There's
Um,
like I'm kind of interested to see like some of his films though. I haven't seen East of Eden or Baby Doll, for example. I think both of those look interesting.
Even then, East of Eden, we're not talking about composition. We're talking about one of the 4 or 3 fucking films that James Dean was in. You know, like that's why that movie's great because we get to look at James Dean and James Dean gets to act. Not really, Kazan doesn't deserve to be here at all. At number 8 too, like
Yeah.
they just
Yeah.
showed Eric von Stroheim in Sunset Boulevard as an actor. I mean, that dude definitely would deserve this number 8 spot more than Elia Kazan.
Mhm.
You know, just to name one of several.
Can I help you, ma'am?
Well, they told me to take a streetcar named Desire.
Elia Kazan was
All right,
prominent
maybe
in
the
both
screenplay
Broadway
sucks.
and Hollywood, a feat few others have accomplished. After pushing the techniques of method acting at the Actors Studio,
Great
Kazan
actor,
helped
to be
actors
fair.
like Marlon Brando and
Brando was
James
hot as
Dean
fuck
break
back
into
then.
the
So was
industry
James
by
Dean.
giving the then unknowns lead roles in his 50s films.
Where's James
The
Dean's
director's
Blonde
talent
movie? You
was
know?
his ability to bring out the best performances in his actors,
love it.
eventually culminating in 21 Oscar nominations and 9 trophies.
Your own Woodrow Wilson said you gotta make a country safe for democracy. Didn't he say that?
Yes, he said that.
He also preferred to make movies that he connected with, as demonstrated by the social issues tackled in Pinky and On the Waterfront.
You ratted on us, Terry. From where you stand, maybe, but I'm standing over here now. I was ratting on myself all them years. I didn't even know it.
Number 7, Federico
So
Fellini.
I love Federico Fellini, actually.
Mhm.
He'd be on my list for sure. He'd be on my list of the 10 best directors, period. Love Fellini.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I haven't like thoroughly explored Fellini's work, but I think like 8.5, of course, and like La Dolce Vita are just like
Oh, God,
really
yeah.
great
He's one of my
movies.
favorite like nihilist filmmakers ever. Oh my God. La Dolce Vita is probably my favorite. That or Amarcord. Oh my God, La Dolce Vita
Yeah,
is
Armorcord's pretty
perfect.
good.
Oh, La Dolce Vita
Yeah.
is one of
I have
my most perfect films. Like there's so many amazing moments and incredible statements and like the ending,
Mhm.
everything about it is masterful. And that marked the big change for Fellini because like Antonioni and Fellini came up in that Rossellini tutelage of the neorealism stuff, and then they both at the same time in 1960 went to do their own thing, and Antonioni got like more introspective and kind of subdued, whereas Fellini is like, I'm gonna get a bit surrealist and completely nihilistic with it, and just I think outshone Rossellini, who by the way, Rossellini should be on this list and not Elia Kazan. I'm gonna keep saying who should be here and not
I
Elia Kazan.
yeah. All right. You want to continue?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about him. It's just been a long time since I've seen his stuff.
And I just want to also include here in case they don't say it, but I think my favorite pairing of a husband and like wife like duo besides John Cassavetes and Jenna Rowlands is Federico Fellini and Giulietta
Oh,
Messina,
that's
like
a
La Strada and Knights of Cabiria. Like even his early work is like fantastic. Oh my God, it's beautiful. But now you can count us down to play it.
Hey, you. Vieni giù.
The English language will forever be indebted to this man
Oh, he
for
came
his
up with
contribution
the
of
word
the word
paparazzi?
paparazzi from
Yeah, he
La
did.
Dolce Vita.
I did not know that. Interesting.
Yeah. There's a character called Paparazzo.
Of course,
Oh, I
that
thought that
wasn't
was just
the
an
only great
Italian
thing
thing.
about the 1960 comedy drama. It was
Like
also
that,
a
look
deep
at all that
and
power.
sophisticated
Like,
take
there's so
on
much
the
power in
decline
all
of
his
society.
frames, and it's always
Questa
nihilistic.
gente, queste grida.
He understood movies as moving pictures. I think a
As
lot
a
of
director,
directors do.
Federico Fellini understood movies as moving pictures
No, Fellini
and
did.
used
But
the
I must
medium
add,
to bring many
WatchMojo's
neo-realist
commentary,
and
not the
Baroque
best.
images to his films.
Not the worst was so far, though. I will say that.
He paired his more abstract images with stunning landscapes and risque plot lines, many revolving around sexual
Oh yeah, he
politics
was kind of
and
a horny
religion.
director.
Yeah, he was Italian. And come on, look.
So it's not surprising that Fellini holds
I
the
don't blame
record
him.
for the most
What, this
Oscar
is like
wins
all
in the best
pre-60s?
foreign language film category.
Or pre-70s. What is it?
Scusa, sono 30 anni che
Pre-70s, but
faccio questo
Amarcord was
mestiere
made in the
e ho
70s,
fatto
so I
film
don't
che
know why they
tutti
showed
voi
that.
nemmeno immaginate.
Yeah, I
Number
was gonna
6.
say, I think Fellini,
Well,
he kind of took off in the 60s, right?
mm-hmm.
That's why I wasn't predicting
1960
him.
was La Dolce Vita, but at
Yeah, I
that
don't.
point he still had like La Strada and
That's
Cabiria.
true. Frank Capra, what do you think?
I think Frank Capra is a wonderful director. I think that
It's a
Frank
wonderful
Capra should
director.
be number like 8 and not Elia
Really?
Kazan.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think Frank Capra is better than Fellini at all. And also, I know Kurosawa hasn't come up yet, that fucking hack. And he's telling me he's better than Frank Capra and Fellini. And
I think he's better than Frank Capra. And well, I haven't seen. Okay, so I guess like if it hasn't been already made apparent, I'm not as well versed in like I guess you could say 40s through 50s Hollywood as much as
Hmm.
some people might be. I mean, I definitely like have seen a fair share of movies, but that's probably kind of more my blind spot. So it is interesting to see in this list and seeing like what kind of the popular consensus is on this like hack YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I think like Frank Capra. I mean, I think like It's a Wonderful Life. Since it's like Christmas is approaching, what do you think of It's a Wonderful Life? Have you
I
talked about it on the channel?
I think it's a wonderful. I have, but the video's unlisted, so I'll go into it here. It's a Wonderful Life. I think is an incredible example of how access determines not only tradition but cultural identity. To be as brief as possible, we live in Frank Capra's America, right? He invented what we think of at our most idealized form of what America is. It's a Wonderful Life is really interesting because it didn't like come in as a massive hit. The reason why It's a Wonderful Life is a tradition and a staple and a cultural marker of Christmas is because it was constantly played on like PBS and public broadcasting stations. Like people actually had access to that film. So access really determines tradition, determines what we think of as
Hmm.
masterful because people will consume what they have access to. And I think It's a Wonderful Life is a good example of what people have access to. I think Frank Capra is like a good director compositionally, right? But I think he's a lot more interesting, like philosophically, of like he invented America and like access to art is always very important. That's what I think of It's a Wonderful Life. I think
Yeah,
Donna Reed's
that's
really hot in It's a Wonderful Life too.
interesting. Yeah, great movie. He has definitely a few that I definitely want to check out sometime. Um,
My
I
favorite
think I've
one is
only seen a
probably
couple.
It Happened One Night. Still probably my favorite.
All right, yeah.
Okay.
Are you fucking shirtless
Hell yeah, bringing the sex
underneath
appeal.
your shirt or whatever?
Yeah, it's a good look, right?
Sure. I didn't even notice at first.
Of course I am.
You,
And now you're
you look like
associating.
a fucking douchebag. Oh, I don't even swear on videos usually. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You should keep that in.
I am.
All right.
I'm going to.
Frank Capra.
You see, George, you really had a wonderful life. Don't you see what a mistake it would be to throw it away?
Frank Capra came from poor beginnings as an Italian immigrant, but soon became the embodiment of the American dream thanks to his award-winning films.
He did? What do you know about that? My old boss. Isn't that right?
Unlike other directors, he was known for improvising many of the scenes on set rather than relying on a completed script.
The New Citizens Committee won't stand.
In the mid-30s, he solidified his place in the record books as the first director to
It's a
have
sweet
his film
movie.
sweep the 5 big categories at the Oscars
Pause.
with It Happened One.
Thoughts thoughts on the Houston.
On what?
On the Houston.
On the Huston?
Yeah.
I mean, like John Huston?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, we're not done with this video. He should be on it.
No, he's next. Maybe you're a little ahead. Oh, I paused as soon as his name came up.
Oh,
That's
okay.
why.
Let me skip ahead here. Keeping that in too. We don't know how to use any of the platforms that we're using to record this. I was like, wait, what? I'm looking at an image from Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. The fuck are you talking about?
That's on the Houston.
I was like, okay, what? Hold your horses. It's probably on it. John Huston, he's good. I don't think of his films very much. He was a good gateway into classic films. Like I love Treasure of the Sierra Madre, for instance. I think
Mhm.
everyone does. But I
Oh,
love The Misfits a lot. Mostly, I don't think he did anything interesting specifically in The Misfits. I just think it documented three sex symbols at the very end of their life. Um,
um, I think I've seen a number of his films. I think the Treasure of Sierra Madre is an incredible film. I love
mhm.
it. Maltese Falcon, not that big on it, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. I could live without it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if
Um,
film noir could, though, to be fair.
yeah, I can see. I mean, it has like its place within history. I just like I just have never really gravitated towards that one specifically. Um, I do think Humphrey Bogart has been in quite a few great films.
Oh, I mean, my favorite
He
noir that he was in, like, I hope Howard Hawks is on here because A Big Sleep, I think, is one of the best noirs. Like,
I
Howard
don't
Hawks
know if
should be
you
here.
I don't know if you're gonna agree with me or disagree with me, but I actually don't think Humphrey Bogart is the greatest of actors like he's purported to be.
I don't.
But he has
Who says he's
incredible
the
screen
greatest
presence.
actor? What are you talking?
Some
Yeah,
people
I think
do. Some people do.
no. That's what he's there
Like
for, is screen
any
presence.
grandpa, any grandpa. He has great screen presence though. I mean, he's a fine actor, but like, yeah, I
I
see
think he's great
him
in the
on
way
as
that,
like,
like, John Wayne is great. Like, it's a presence, it's a mood, it's the language of cinema.
yeah.
The best actor in film noir is probably like uh fuck. I'm trying to think of who it would be. Richard Widmark was really good. Robert Mitchum, I would probably give the best
Oh,
actor in noir.
yeah, that's a good choice.
But
Um, The African Queen. What do you think of that one? Have you seen it?
I don't
I
like
think
it at
it's
all.
a really. I
Really.
think it's I think it's solid, but I
I
don't
didn't
think it's
like
as great as people make it out to be. Treasure Sierra Madre is great though.
I like Bogey in the noir roles, in the more dangerous roles. I don't like that odd couple Katharine Hepburn bullshit they were trying to pull off with African Queen. I'm not a fan of it. Uh,
All right.
John Huston's good, but one of my favorite things John Huston ever did was play the ultimate villain in Chinatown, though. Like, I think he was a phenomenal Oh,
hmm
and also The Other Side of the Wind, that Orson Welles one that Isabel made me watch. Like, he's cool, obviously, and he's very smart and like interesting to hear talk, but.
I
Where's
gotcha.
Orson Welles gonna be? Orson Welles is gonna be top like three.
Yeah, I bet you. You want to
Apparently
continue now?
Kurosawa is fucking top four.
You
So
ready?
yeah, I'm ready. Do you think Kurosawa is gonna be the number one director who's not of the
No, I think Hitchcock
English?
will be.
I mean, English speaking.
Oh, that's not English?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
John Huston.
Sam, did you kill him?
I don't know. They showed Fritz Lang
Put
earlier.
that bright idea in your head.
As the most well-known member of the Huston family dynasty, John Huston had a prolific career that spanned almost 50 years.
We made it!
Hip, hip, hooray!
He wrote almost
Yeah, I
every
hate
film
that
he
fucking
directed,
movie.
with many of these screenplays now considered some of the best ever written.
See, I got a feeling that pretty soon we're gonna wish we
You
were
know, this
back
movie
shooting
kind of
around
reminds me of like 6 Days, 7
Given
Nights
that
or
he
whatever.
often
When there's
drew out
support.
each scene
Yeah.
before filming
Which,
and
I
spent
mean, I think,
little
I
time
think, I
editing
think,
after, his style was most
Houston's a
certainly
much better
unconventional.
director than whoever
Give me a
made
try
that,
so they don't have to look
that's
at your
what it
ugly
reminds me
face.
of.
Es un número excelente, señor.
Sierra Madre's great.
The
though. I think
Oscar-winning
it's an amazing
filmmaker
movie.
directed both his father and daughter
The
during his
actor who
career,
just the
and
kid actor
became
just
known
sold
for
him that
movies
gum
that
was
focused
Robert
on social
Blake, who
themes
like murdered
and
people
the emotional quests
in
of
his
their
adulthood.
protagonists.
You're an angel, a nice, rattle-brained little angel.
Oh, am I?
I didn't know that.
Number 4.
Pause. Charlie Chaplin definitely deserves to be here. I mean, unequivocally. I don't think anyone would argue, right?
I mean, unless you just subject to the fact that he's a pedophile, but he's a great filmmaker. He's a
Oh
great
my God.
filmmaker. I think like he's like one of the most prominent voices within like the silent era, especially in the United States. And I think he's definitely left his mark on kind of like film. In some ways, he like I feel like his like attachment to the silent era is seen throughout his like even his sound films, but it's almost like he was trying to cling on to that like those like last moments of the silent era and try to preserve that and try to like kind of make the case that no, there is something special to be found here. There is something special to be found in the films that have been released in the last decade or two,
Hmm.
because Hollywood just kept moving forward, and in some ways, like he realized that was inevitable, but he was basically making the case that there is like this like there's this greatness to the art of silent film, And don't get me wrong, I think he's made some really great sound films, like Great Dictator and like Limelight and stuff. But and even like the films like Modern Times was made well into like the silent era,
Yeah.
but he's clinging to those same kind of like stylistic tendencies that he brought into like sound films. And what I find interesting about him is that with The Great Dictator, it's like pretty much up until that point, you don't really see his tramp character or a variation of the tramp character in this case really speak until like he realizes that he has something to say that can only be expressed with words. Before that, it's like gibberish or whatever, gibberish song in modern times. But here it's like he wants to speak, and that ending of Great Dictator, maybe it's a bit like naive in the way we kind of look at it in his relationship to democracy, but at the same time, there is kind of this huge emotional catharsis in resistance to fascism that's at the end of Great Dictator that just makes it great. I've taught some like English composition courses, and I've had people analyze that scene even as a little exercise. I think like Chaplin is just like absolutely an amazing filmmaker. The one thing I will say though, he definitely has really great ideas. I don't actually think he's as funny as people make him out to be, though.
No, I think he
Not
is.
consistently. He has
I
some
think he's a
great
genius.
gags. No, he has some great gags, and he's a genius. But I think like people often like pit like Chaplin against like Buster Keaton, and I think like,
Chaplin's way better than Buster Keaton.
but Buster Keaton has wait, is Buster Keaton going to be on here? Probably not.
No.
But Chaplin and Buster Keaton like I think like it depends on. I feel like Buster Keaton was the one that was able to pull off like these really amazing like stunts and gags. And I feel like Chaplin was a lot better of an actual storyteller.
Well, yeah, I think that
Um,
that's what makes comedy work, though. Like, I don't care if a house almost fell on you. I care like what it means to you,
yeah, exactly.
which
And
is
I
why
think like
Chaplin's better.
And I think at this point in time, I think Great Dictators might be my favorite because it almost starts off with really slapstick like humor, and then as it evolves, that part gets kind of slowly pulled out from under like everything, right? And then
Hmm.
eventually it just becomes more serious, like the jokes. Um, that's kind of how like he contextualizes the advancement of comedy, where you have to like speak up and resist fascism. Apparently, it was like one of Hitler watched it like once or twice or something, and he was like a fan of Chaplin, but Chaplin said that he really wanted to know Hitler's thoughts on it. I think I think Chaplin's great, of course. What do you have to say? I kind of stole your thunder.
No, no, I would co-sign on most of what you said, only I think he's one of the greatest artists we ever had in film. City Lights is my favorite Charlie Chaplin film. Um, Mostly because of something that you were on about like we did lose something when talkies came, like that, like there was a kind of heightened artful sensitivity that silent films had that were unique to silent films. So it's hard for me to even
Yeah.
include silent films and talkies as like the same kind of medium because they were playing a different kind of game. There's a different language involved. And I love City Lights because that was made in like 31 or 32 and the heyday of talkies. And he wanted to express something that you couldn't in words. Like words could not do City Lights justice, but that's exactly the point of City Lights.
Mhm.
I just think Chaplin's phenomenal, and it's good to see it's good to see him on this list. I absolutely like. I'm not even joking. I don't understand how Kurosawa was higher than Chaplin. I don't at all. Like
Oh,
I
I
can't
think
even I
he's
can't
next.
humor that. I can't humor that notion.
All right.
But
Here, I
also,
think.
I don't know why Wells is higher than Chaplin either. I think Chaplin's more talented than
Mm,
Orson Welles was too.
mhm.
Like Hitchcock is something I can live with. If Hitchcock is number one, I can live with that.
Yeah.
Charlie Chaplin.
I kind of hate WatchMojo's commentary and stuff and
I wish I
editing.
like, but you gotta be
During
paid
the
good money to
silent era,
write this.
the
Like
tramp proved
I
to be
wish
one
they
of the
hit me
hardest
up.
working men
I'd
in
love to
show
write like
business,
top 10
building his
cutest
production house from
couples in teen
scratch
drama.
and financing his films himself.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Creating his own distribution company, United Artists, with fellow directors, Chaplin was also a visionary.
Did you hear that? With
whose
fellow
works have
directors,
proven
they
to
will
be
not say
hallmarks of
D.W.
early cinema.
Griffith's name. They will not even say his name.
Especially notable were his black and white silent films, which were often hilarious and
His black and
heartfelt,
white silent
thanks to
films
his
compared to
masterful
what?
blending of
His
drama
black and
and
white
slapstick
talkies?
comedy.
La spinach o la bouchon, sigarette portabello, siraki spaghetto, tua.
Chaplin later received an honorary Academy Award for all his achievements in motion pictures in the early 1970s.
Unless it's relevant to the actual discussion, I feel like people saying, "Oh, this is Oscar nominated. This is an Oscar winner." It's
They
so
say
boring.
it all the time.
Number 3, Akira.
So Kurosawa's in the top 3.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel? You're the one who got your
Should
masters.
be number 1, honestly.
Really? The best
Well,
ever?
out of these directors that they selected, probably. I mean, I could see an argument for like Hitchcock. No, I think Kurosawa, like, in many ways, he is responsible for bringing, like, he's responsible in a lot of ways for actually like, Asian cinema to be really embraced, in the West. Now, I think that there's some negative consequences of that, such as
Yes.
like all the weeb culture and stuff when it comes to like anime.
Lay that at Akira's feet.
Yeah, okay. No, I do think so, because like when Rashomon hit festival when Rashomon like hit festivals and kind of gained traction, it initially wasn't like the most popular in Japan. And to be fair, Japan was like an occupation period, so it was like really undergoing its own like kind of cultural identity. It was trying to kind of like find itself in a lot of ways. So when Rashomon kind of like entered like the States, it really like gained more attention, and it brought more people um to Japanese film, especially, and that includes like Mizoguchi and Ozu and stuff. Now, Nagasa Oshima, who did In the Realm of the Senses, actually objected to the fact that Kurosawa must have been pandering to Western sensibilities, as he said. But I don't know. I mean, I think in a lot of ways his films really work. There's really like such an attention to detail, a lot of like power to the performances. I think that the narratives are like always consistently compelling. Like the way that he captures nature in relationship to people, the way he captures different characters, I think it's absolutely stunning. And I know that you're sick of Kurosawa at best, and I know it, and I get it. But in a lot of ways, I think that Kurosawa has also shown himself to be a very powerful artist who has evolved as time has gone on. He's made so many films over several decades. I think like he's made like period piece films. Uh he's made like kind of like action films. He's made avant-garde pictures. He like is able to do it all. Have you seen Dreams, Zach? I don't think you've seen Dreams. Martin Scorsese plays Vincent Van Gogh in it. It's amazing.
Martin Scorsese's a nerd.
To be fair, I do agree with that. But it's great. I think Kurosawa, I think he has a tremendous influence on not only Western pictures, but also kind of like how but also like kind of like broadening like kind of like international attention to like just Asian countries in general, honestly. He's brought a lot to cinema. But some of it brought a lot to culture, but some of it is not for the best. I will say that. So my paper was on Rashomon, and I kind of make the case that um that his films are not nearly as sexist as as the kind of early feminist film criticism may suggest. And so I've spent so much time working on this thing right here. Look at this. I just today, at the time of this recording, I did my defense for my project paper for my master's degree, and I am proud of what I've been able to do. All my school has been working towards this moment. All of my school has been working towards this. And directly after that, I'm coming on to a video where Zach is eye rolling me for liking one of the most acclaimed directors of all time. And I will say one thing though. Fistful of Dollars, better than Yojimbo.
Yeah.
And by a landslide, Yojimbo's not that great. But Kurosawa has made many great films.
So we can skip this whole section. Let's go to 4.
3, 2.
Okay, no, wait. Where are you at? Where are you at?
Let's just continue. We can just
All right,
listen to it.
I'm at 954.
Really funny.
I'm at 954. Where are you at?
3, 2, 1, and go.
Kurosawa.
Wow.
This Japanese filmmaker is considered one of the greatest directors of the 20th century.
Well, that's just fine and dandy.
Every detail of his productions was thoughtfully considered.
How does it feel? WatchMojo agrees with you.
To be the most important
You have more in line with WatchMojo.
Okay. I do think it's interesting that they're focusing on the script because while films like, I mean, yes, I think he deals with great screenplays, but I think like a lot of the power of Kurosawa's films come more from the image. Ironically enough, I did write about Rashomon, which is the most script heavy. But yeah, I do think that like it really comes down to the image. What do you have to say?
No, I just paused it so you could say that.
3, 2, 1, and go.
Akira Kurosawa also had a distinctive cinematic eye, shooting many of his subjects from a distance using a long lens.
If it's number 4.
And this created a more natural feel to his films, while emphasizing the beauty of the natural landscape.
Look at that boring horizon right in the middle.
Kurosawa has gone on to influence and inspire many directors, such as Sergio Leone.
But do we know if Leone liked him?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if he actually liked him.
I honestly feel like Yojimbo. This is my theory, and I could be wrong. I feel like Yojimbo was a successful film in Japan, and and people liked it, and that's cool and all. But I honestly feel like if Sergio Leone didn't remake it and made it better, it wouldn't be nearly as acclaimed as it is, because that is easily the most overrated Kurosawa film. I feel like all of the interesting thematics that are at play in his earlier work and subsequent work, even Sandro, its sequel, are significantly better.
I gotta be real. I'd rather swallow a bullet than watch Seven Samurai again. Gotta be real.
That's like top 15 material for me.
Oh, I can't. I don't know what all of you see in it. I can't. I've watched it 4 times to try to get anything out of it. I can't. Seven Samurai. Oh, kill me. Kill me before then. I used to think I liked Akira, but I'm pretty sure I don't like Akira. I'm pretty sure I don't like him. I don't care about him. Who's next? Orson.
We'll see. You ready?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're already there. Let's pause.
Just so you know, I have been, you and I have both made some classic faces. Just consider that one editing.
We've made some what?
Classic faces in reaction to each other.
Oh.
Hey, 3, 2, 1, and go.
And go, and then pause. Because we're at number 2.
Pause.
Yeah. Orson. Orson definitely deserves to be on a list like this, but I almost feel like he doesn't qualify. He's a phenomenal director, right? But we've only seen one movie that he was allowed, or maybe 2 movies he was allowed to make. without like the way he wanted to make it, right? Like,
Yeah, I don't know how he has such both like considerable bad luck and like good luck when it comes to like these kind of things.
I'm with every other cinephile. I think Orson is incredible. Died for our sins, whatever. But he also brought so much of this on himself. Like, people like to talk about how he was so wronged by all the studio heads when the motherfucker would like take their money and disappear in Brazil for a month and not tell him what he was doing. And he wasn't even doing anything. He was just fucking and drinking. Like, Orson, or he's had such bad luck because he brings it on himself most of the time. But I mean, things like F for Fake, Citizen Kane, even the ones that were butchered. Like I think my favorite Wells film is Magnificent Ambersons, which is infamously butchered because it's like the Schrodinger's cat of film. It like both exists and doesn't exist simultaneously. I think he's fantastic. I think he deserves to be like mentioned on this list because I think he is the archetype of the American director. I think he's archetypal. I think he's more archetypal than Griffith because I think more people strive to be like Wells than like Griffith, by far. But now I'm very concerned because John Ford and Howard Hawks did not make this list. There's no way.
Oh yeah, I was expecting you to talk about Howard Hawks, but it's gonna be wait, this is number two, right? So it's
Yeah, it's
Hitchcock
gonna be
and
Hitchcock at one. And how
oh
you're telling me
God,
that like Elia Kazan and fucking even David
Howard
Lean
Hawks.
might have to get bounced off. Like John Ford and Howard Hawks don't get to be here.
Oh, that's very strange.
And even like John Renoir I'm thinking of all the people who Wells ripped off for
Oh,
Citizen
Billy
Kane.
Wilder is not gonna be
Oh
on
yeah,
here.
Billy Wilder's not actually here. And like these are like really accessible. We're naming like mostly English speaking ones, but like, we also had like Jean Renoir, Fritz Lang, who they showed at the beginning, so I thought we'd get Fritz Lang. Um, but we
No, I think
didn't.
I think the channel likes to just show things that they're not actually going to put in the video. It just says like, oh hey, this is the grand scope of things. They might drop it in an honorable mention because I feel like they usually have those in here. But the one thing I do want to say about Wells is that I get why he's so acclaimed, and all the films I've seen from him, I've liked quite a bit, but at least for the most part. But I also feel like especially the trial. I think the trial is an amazing film, but I think like one of the problems I have with them is kind of what you're saying is that these are very compromised visions, and when you watch like Magnificent Ambersons, I get that it had potential to be so much greater, but the problem is it's not that. And the fact that and it's like oh, but it's I don't know, it's like oh, look what could have been, but it's not. And as a
Yeah.
result, we're judging it according to that. No, I think Wells was a great filmmaker. I also think he's a bit cocky. When I first watched F for Fake, like F for Fake is quite an interesting documentary, if you can even call it that exactly.
Oh, I
But
love it. It's beautiful.
it's also like Orson Welles. It's like people talk about like someone like Tarantino being like an overbearing personality, but oh my goodness, in that movie, Orson Welles is so cocky and full
But
of
I love
himself.
it though. It works for F for Fake because he's a charlatan in it. He's like he's supposed to be that. I don't know, in that movie he is. But he is a good actor though. I would say Citizen Kane and Touch of Evil and The Third Man, like great actors
Hmm.
still. Good
Oh
presence.
yeah, yeah he's a really good actor. Let's just not
What?
let's just not talk about Citizen Kane.
Okay, fine. That's fair.
Orson Welles.
He is today what he has always been, and always will be, a fascist.
While he directed some theatrical
Don't put that
productions
after
in the
you say
mid-30s,
Orson Welles.
Orson Welles first came to prominence
That's such
after he
an
surprised the world with
uncharitable
his radio
clip.
broadcast of H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds.
Well, gee, without you, I don't know what I'd have done.
He switched to motion pictures in 1941 with Citizen Kane, which is largely considered the best film of all time.
I made no campaign promises because until a few weeks ago, I had no hope of being elected.
The mark of his directorial style included the insertion of his personality and vision into every aspect
Like
of
every
the film.
director that's
What a
just
setup
worth
to work
noting.
with.
Like he
One
does
brother in
have
jail, two others
stylistic
dead.
motifs, but it's
And
not
nobody left to
personality
carry on the
vision. What
business
is
but a
that?
bunch of nephews.
When it came to his work,
Well-
Wells was truly a Renaissance man. He acted in, wrote, and directed many
He's
of
a
his
Renaissance
features,
man.
while also being involved in theater and radio, all of which
Literally,
proved
what are
he
you
was
talking
a
about?
rare talent.
Nobody can see you up here.
Sure. Of course I'm sure.
That was a great film. Also
Before we
butchered.
unveil our number one pick,
Oh!
here are a few honorable mentions.
Pause at each one. Bergman.
I didn't think he qualified.
He
But
qualifies.
no,
So
but I keep forgetting, with the exception of Kurosawa, who I guess is just westernized, all these have been like English speakers, haven't they?
yeah, Kurosawa and Fellini.
Okay, so what is the
So I guess
criteria?
that Bergman was in
Okay,
the discussion. Godard
well,
was in the discussion. Max Ophuls would have been my pick. He's,
Godard started in 1960, but I feel like
but it's before
Fellini.
1970. I thought is the cutoff.
Oh, well, but if that's the case, there should be a lot more directors on here.
Yeah, Truffaut even like there are so many.
Kubrick was before 1970. He only made a couple films after that.
They're all better than Kubrick. I love that that's what it's positing. What? Even Tarkovsky,
Okay.
right? Well, not really.
Yeah, not really, but okay. So Bergman, definitely if he's included on here, should be like number one. I would,
He's very good.
no, I would, I'm totally okay with saying Bergman's better than Kurosawa.
Like the like super self-serious art movies don't really speak to me anymore because I'm not interested in like the profound questions of God or life or whatever. But Bergman still hits. He still hits. Still good. He's still valid and potent. He's still very good.
Persona, I think is like easily one of my favorite films of all time.
Cries and
Um, eh,
Whispers is my favorite one.
oh yeah, that's a pretty. I mean, I've seen like a chunk of his films. I will say that he kind of treads the same thematic waters a lot, but at the end of the day, he's Ingmar Bergman, and he has
Yeah,
like a lot of great things to offer to
yeah.
cinema. I
It
think
does
it
feel
was,
wrong to have Bergman here and not Dreyer, I will say.
well, he might be next. I don't know.
Oh yeah, true. Because now all rules are gone.
Yeah, I literally don't know what's even going on here. So, um, so Seventh Seal and Seventh Seal, Winterlight, and like Wild Strawberries were kind of the films from Bergman that some of the first ones I saw in Virgin Spring that kind of really made me more interested in engaging in kind of like cinema, world cinema, I should say. And that kind of what got me on this trajectory, which is kind of funny because I've only covered Bergman once on my channel. But no, I think Bergman is like incredible.
I think he's head and shoulders above Kurosawa, no question. What
I
do you say?
mean,
What do you say?
I think Kurosawa has some more range at times, but I do think that okay, I'll say this: Persona is better than anything Kurosawa has produced.
I agree.
So, all right, next,
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
There he is.
Pause.
Yeah, we got Fritz. We got Fritz Lang. This is a difficult one. Does he deserve to be here? He deserves to be an honorable mention.
I think I mean, I feel like I mean, after I like watched a bit more, I think I could probably come up with. I just wouldn't make a list like this. I
You know
guess.
what? I actually will say that M is good enough. M is good enough.
M is incredible. M's
Yeah.
incredible. I like Metropolis. I really wish he made the film that in Contempt, the Odyssey adaptation, but oh well.
I also love his
I
American
never.
work.
Yeah.
The
What was
Big
it? The
Heat
big
is
was it the big?
fantastic.
Yeah, the Big Heat's great. Um, I haven't. I only saw one of the Dr. Mabuse films because I
Oh,
think
The
the other one
Testament of
was really
Dr.
long.
Mabuse is great.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one that I saw, and then also like uh, Die Nability. Lungen
Yeah, the
Siegfried.
Siegfried one.
Yeah. That's like that's not
It's
like the genre
okay.
net.
Like I don't like Metropolis, so I think it's
Well,
really,
M's
really
better.
overrated.
M's better, and Odyssey, if he
M's
made it, would be
perfect.
better.
M is like
Contempt's
M is amazing.
Contempt's Odyssey is better.
M is amazing. Fritz Lang would be an honorable mention on my list. He wouldn't make the top 10 though. Uh, even German expressionist filmmakers, I'm more impressed by like Robert Vine, who did, like Caligari, or Murnau, I'm more impressed by, like just because of Sunrise, right? I don't like Nosferatu, but I think Sunrise is beautiful. Just
Why
even
don't
on
why don't you like why don't you like Nosferatu?
because it's an anti-Semitic caricature. It's a poor residue of the anti-Semitism that was ever present in Germany at the time. I know that he
I can see
wasn't a
it.
Nazi, but he also grew up within that cult. You don't have to be a Nazi to be anti-Semitic and to provide me with one of the most disgusting Jewish caricatures that cinema has ever seen, because it's also so potent and cinematic to look at.
Alright. You ready?
But yeah, I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, and go. I will say this. Oh, okay. Pause.
There we go.
John
There's John
Ford.
Ford.
I actually don't know your opinion on John Ford. What is it?
He definitely deserves to be here. My opinion is kind of similar to my opinion on DeMille, in the sense that John Ford is like foundational, a fundamental of the language of cinema. Um, he helped build the framework.
I think he's also kind of cemented kind of like American cultures
Yeah.
kind of look at the Old West in a lot of ways.
But it is
I mean,
interesting to
other
compare
directors
like
do that too,
Capra to
but
Ford though, because Ford is far more
mhm.
disillusioned and disenchanted, right? Like
Yeah.
Ford has a critical eye, and it's interesting.
Well, it's a critical eye, but I feel like it's also at the end of the day, I don't know. Ford's an interesting person to kind of like study, I think, because I keep going back and forth on where exactly I kind of think his films are placed ideologically. But I also find like his body of work just so fascinating to see like unfold.
Oh
The
yeah.
Searchers, I think it's as I really do think it deserves to be canonized as much as it has been.
I even
Stagecoach,
love
not so
Stagecoach. I love Stagecoach,
Stagecoach.
actually.
I think Stagecoach is pretty good. I don't think it's as good as some of his other films. Like Young Mr. Lincoln, I think is great.
Hmm.
And Grapes of Wrath made me cry. How Green Was My Valley? I
I like
don't think was
Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, right?
I. I'm
Pretty
gonna
sure.
say something. I'm gonna say something.
Yeah.
You know, people like to bring up How Green Is My Valley and compare it to Citizen Kane because it's the one that kind of like they say unfairly won the Oscar that year. But honestly, I mean, I can see why people may like it more. It's a great movie. So,
All right. I mean, I don't think he's as good as Orson Welles, but we also have to admit that Orson Welles ripped off most of his composition from John Ford and Jean Renoir.
there we
So,
go. Yeah.
didn't John Ford
Some
famously say, "I really enjoyed Citizen Kane, especially the stuff he ripped off or stole from me"? I'm pretty sure that's a
yeah.
quote. But
Yeah, I
I would like to
gotcha.
see Jean Renoir on here. I'd like to see a French director on here. Give me
Mhm.
Renoir, give me Godard, give me Max Ophuls even. Like, give me anybody who made great French films.
I would honestly rather see John Ford on the proper list than like Kazan or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Like
Kazan.
it,
Like now that
or
we see all
even
these names,
Houston.
Kazan has no place here. Like David Lean's position is starting to get a bit fucking like, oh man, maybe he should be an honorable
Yeah, I thought
mention.
this is if this is just like anything before 1970 or whatever, then it's like okay. I don't know. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I'm
They should
ready.
have just made this like American filmmakers and just ditched Kurosawa. Or kept him considering he's
It
so
is just
Americanized, as
American
people say.
filmmakers plus Fellini and Kurosawa.
Oh yeah, Fellini was here. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, and go.
Lucy and Brad, Lucy and Brad. Debbie and Ben Edwards, I'm gonna tell Ma on you.
Pause.
Here he is.
My Billy Boy.
I didn't know you had such a connection. My Billy Boy. I didn't expect to be something you would say.
I
Please go on.
know. I'm wild about Billy Wilder. Well, I'm not as big on what witness for the prosecution or whatever. And some
But what about
okay.
I don't think you're big on Some Like It Hot, but I think it's fucking perfect.
Oh, okay. So I think the reason for that is at one point in time I would be binge watching all these directors. With Polanski, I stopped watching him at The Tenant, and I stopped watching Shion Sono at um, Strange Circus, and I stopped watching Wilder at Some Like It Hot. And what the all three have in common is potentially contentious depictions of gender nonconformity. And I didn't
Hmm.
realize at the time. I'm more inclined to say that I'm guessing it's probably good, but at the time, as I was still kind of like identifying as like a guy or whatever at that point, and Some Like It Hot, there's just something that just bothered me about drag jokes when I just didn't understand them and myself. And so when I watched like these guys act like buffoons, like as girls, like, there's just something that just didn't sit right with me. I feel like I'll love it now though. I really want to
Yeah,
rewatch
I
it.
mean, I feel like that's more. I mean, I definitely don't want to invalidate your opinion. You definitely have a different perspective on it than me. But I think that like Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon acting like buffoons when they're women is more so comedically illustrating that they don't understand women at all. Like their idea, conception of a woman is
Yeah, well, it wasn't
ridiculous.
so it wasn't so much that bothered me, just kind of more so like framing
Right.
nonconformity of gender to something to be laughed at. But then as I got older, I kind of understood the role of drag in the kind of like gay community and things like
Well,
that.
I
And
think Some Like
and
It Hot
I
hinges on Marilyn Monroe more than it does the gender
oh, don't
nonconformist
get me wrong,
joke.
I always thought that Wilder was able to like make a really interesting film, and I thought that the whole Prohibition era stuff is really cool.
Hmm.
And yeah, Marilyn Monroe like steals the show, of course.
Oh yeah,
But honestly,
effortlessly.
as time has gone on, I think I might I'm excited to rewatch it.
I would
Um
definitely if I were you, because like I rewatched it within the year and it was way better than I remembered it being. Like it was some
yeah,
good stuff.
I
I
I, I
think
was
Some Like It Hot is my favorite Wilder, but then like like Double Indemnity might be behind it.
so I was watching Blonde by Andrew Dominic, and
Oh,
they talk about something like a hot for a little bit, and they even show a clip of it. And I'm thinking, maybe this is pretty good. I have to rewatch it. But I
but did
think
Tony did they go to the Tony Curtis interview where Tony Curtis was asked what it was like to kiss Marilyn Monroe, and I think he said something like it was like kissing Satan. Like I think he said that shit.
that's pretty funny.
Or like
I don't
kissing
think that.
Hitler. Like he said something terrible.
Oh, I haven't heard of that. I don't think that's in the movie. But but anyways, for Wilder, I think like of course Sunset Boulevard is great. That's actually one of the first one of the first films I wrote about for school. And and I think it's like a really great film. It's as great as everybody says. I might actually make a video on it at some point. Um, Another film that I really love. I mean, I think The Apartment's pretty cool, but another film that I really love is Ace in the Hole. I think that
Yeah,
movie is just
yeah.
is. I think that movie's great. So that's my Billy Boy.
I think he did a Foreign Affair, I think, because he did some cool
Wait,
work with
what? Why
Marlene
is
Dietrich.
Wilder not on the main list?
Why are any of the honorable mentions not on the main list so far?
I feel like the
Like,
honorable mentions are a better list. Like I feel like at first it seems like, oh, this isn't too bad of a list, but then when you really realize it's only 10 people and you see that when people get booted,
yeah.
yeah, nah. Let me know when you're
Man,
ready.
Wilder made so many. I'm looking at it now, like Ninochka, like, and he made so many with so many incredible actresses. Like, he's worked with Greta Garbo, Marilyn Monroe, Audrey Hepburn, fucking Gloria Swanson, and Barbara
Mhm.
Stanwyck, like everybody. And I think he did some of their best work all the time.
Mhm.
He's also responsible for that 7 Year Itch movie with Monroe, with the famous air flowing up through like the grate in the sidewalk, right? which she was beaten for by Joe DiMaggio afterwards.
Yeah.
Wasn't fun being Marilyn Monroe, but let's just continue playing.
3, 2, 1, and go.
You got cold feet. Isn't that ridiculous? Here, let me warm you up a little. There. Isn't that better?
Yes, I'm a girl. I'm a girl. I'm a girl.
What'd you say?
Buster Keaton. Pause.
I say no, honestly.
I think he's pretty cool. Probably
I think he's cool, but I don't think he's invaluable. And if we're like, so Fritz Lang, Charlie Chaplin, and Buster Keaton are like the three silent filmmakers who have made it to this list. I don't agree with that. I mean, I think Eric von Stroheim, King Vidor, Paul Lenny.
I was gonna say before we decided to do this video together, I was thinking like, oh, I don't know if I have much to say about like Vidor or anything at this point. But Buster Keaton's I think he's cool. I think
he's cool too, but he's cool at creating these like you mentioned stunts, and I think his composition is very good when it comes to like stunts or like sketches almost. Like the entire story though, no. And most of his films were like one or two reelers, like they weren't what we'd call feat. I don't think even The General, I don't think he was like ever trying to express something interesting, and I know that I'm not trying to criticize him too heavily here. He's pretty important, but I wouldn't put him on a list of the best directors.
He certainly is not the first person that comes to my mind. All right, let's continue.
They really did erase Griffith from film history, though. I mean, of course, this is number one.
Mrs. Bates.
And, like, I won't argue
Alfred Hitchcock. Even more than a director.
Yeah, he's not You or I's number one, but, like, it's a difficult thing to argue with, because, like, I don't have the energy to argue with it, and also, like, he's very good. He's very good.
Do you have any Hitchcock hot takes?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like a lot of the films that a lot of people like. I mean, the one I have it paused on is Vertigo, and I think Vertigo is one of the most overrated films I've ever seen. I think it's Hitchcock spreading far too little over way too much. I think it's not nearly as complicated as people think, and I think it's fucking bad and boring and long. The Hitchcock I like is like I like his earlier work, I guess. I like Rebecca, and I like Suspicion, and I like Notorious a lot. I like a more nuanced, subdued, and yeah, I like that. I like that in my Hitchcock.
I think what I really like about Hitchcock is kind of how like he evolved over the years. Although his really early films I don't think are the best. Rebecca's a great movie. But I think like I mean there's still a chunk I haven't seen, but I've seen quite a few Hitchcock films, and I disagree completely. I think Vertigo is probably his like magnum opus, but I think that like his films are about just as good.
Like why? I feel like we just say Vertigo because so many people like because that's what the gatekeepers say. It's what the guardians say. Like Vertigo is actually not good. It's just not good. Like North by Northwest also sucks. Psycho
North by Northwest is overrated.
I feel the same way about Vertigo, and I'm not really sure why we're clinging on to it. Like, what's valuable about it?
I haven't seen it in a while, but I think like it explores identity in a really kind of like interesting way.
But I feel like they did that in Rebecca in a way that wasn't so overcomposed and like self-centered. It was weird. Like Rebecca, we don't even know Joan Fontaine's name in the whole film, and she's the main character because Rebecca, this person we don't see, is the primary identity. Like everything he does here, I feel like he did better elsewhere.
If you argue Rebecca's a better film, I wouldn't really argue against it. But like
Okay.
I feel like Vertigo is it's just also just really formally interesting. Like
I feel like it's overdone.
I don't know. I think it's cool. I also
Fair
really
enough.
like.
I mean,
I really like Rope. Also, I think
Rope is very good.
Yeah, very gay too. Strangers on a Train, very good, very gay.
Oh, Strangers
Psycho,
on a Train is another very good one.
Psycho's great.
I think Psycho's good. I think the Psycho is a good movie, you know.
Psycho 2 is also good, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, that's a Quentin Tarantino take. But
Well,
Hitchcock, he's if I call, John Ford and DeMille like building blocks, I mean, Alfred Hitchcock certainly is one, but I guess my hottest take is that his pupils do it better. I think that Brian De Palma does it better. I think Roman Polanski both do it better than Alfred Hitchcock, because I think Alfred Hitchcock was kind of restricted by the time period that he was working in as well, which is nothing against him. That's just where he happened to work. But Polanski and De Palma both take the same language, and I think they
right.
complicate it and make it way more
So,
interesting.
so kind of like a lot of like Hitchcock's films are kind of burdened by being made during the Hays Code.
Hmm.
Um, and he successfully managed to experiment and trick his way around it.
Yeah,
But De Palma didn't have, at least De Palma, when it comes to something like Body Double, doesn't have the
way
same
better than
kind of
which is better,
restrictions.
Body Double or Vertigo? Tell me right now. Look me in the eye and tell me that Body Double is not better than Vertigo, because it is. Body Double is so much better. Tell me.
I think it's on par.
It's better. It's so much better. You
Fine.
know it. You know it's better.
Fine.
All right. There we go.
But
I
Psycho is a
like that
lot
you and
better
I
than
agree
Just
on
to
that, but that
Kill.
is not the general consensus.
Really? But
Yeah,
Body
the general
Double's like
consensus is
Body
like
Double's
Body
one of the
Double.
best movies I've seen.
It's so good. It's my favorite De Palma. It's so fucking good.
Oh yeah, that's easily like probably his best. That I've seen at least. I will not say that Psycho is inferior to Just to
Just to
Kill
Kill.
though, which is
I wasn't
another one.
asking you to
Which is
say
another
that,
one. Yeah,
but
yeah.
also Rosemary's Baby is better than any Hitchcock film I've ever seen. I'll say that too. So I think Polanski also took the language and made it a lot better. And also, yeah,
Hmm.
like Rosemary's Baby is only 8 years after Psycho. Like, I think that even as he grew, Hitchcock was still a bit conventional or old fashioned as the times progressed in the
I can
60s.
s- I can see that. I can see that. I do love The Birds, but it's very old fashioned.
I do like The Birds too, but it feels older than it is.
Yeah, that was like late in his career, wasn't it?
Yeah, like you have to remember,
Jeez.
like Repulsion, like fucking Polanski's Catherine Deneuve rape fantasy came out like that same year. It's like okay, and meanwhile Hitchcock's with some fucking birds.
So
All right.
oh, Polanski's not even an honorable mention. I don't know how they're okay, I don't understand the criteria. So I don't know. I don't know how much I to what extent I
Well,
disagree with this list
look, I
when
feel like if
I
they
don't understand the
erased
criteria.
I think we're done with the video, so I'm not gonna press
Yeah.
play on it anymore, and we can just talk for a minute. I think that if they erased Griffith, they'll erase Polanski.
I mean, but Chaplin's also a pedo.
Yeah, but no one really knows that. No one knows that at all.
True. Maybe I shouldn't be saying that. Oh
It's
God.
okay.
Can just imagine Twitter trying to retroactively cancel the dick guy.
I
Or
can't believe your background is Akira.
maybe the issue is this, with Polanski he's still alive, and whereas someone like Griffith is like he may be gone, but he maybe film history as historians have been a little bit too fixated on the
Yeah.
glorification of the South and so on.
Oh
I
no, I
could I
mean
could I
like
could sort of see that.
I'm fine with Griffith not being here. It's just
Bring him Oscar Michaud here if that's the case,
yeah, that's
or
the whole thing.
somebody.
Yeah.
Literally, like I feel like there's probably a lot of other directors that
Louis
don't even come to
Well,
mind.
like I don't understand what the criteria is.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
because
I thought it was
apart
like
from
pre
Akira
sixties.
Kurosawa, this was like the whitest list I've ever seen. So And like the most male-dominated list I've ever seen too. I mean,
Oh God, there's not even like.
but I don't know
I
the
mean,
criteria. Not even no Ida Lupino. There's nobody on this list who falls outside of like what's safe. So that's why I think it's okay to attack Kurosawa or Hitchcock or Elia Kazan because like
well,
if being a cinephile is just carrying the torch for all the old ones, then like what are we doing?
Kazan shouldn't be attacked. He should just be ignored.
I just don't
I'm
understand the
sure he
point
has
of
some good
being
movies.
I don't understand the point of being a cinephile if it's just new generations of people saying like you have to watch Citizen Kane and Seven Samurai. Like that's pointless. That's pointless.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean that's how I feel about it. But man,
man,
this list here. Well, the honorable mentions all deserves to be from the main list. Let me go back here. The main list is David Lean, DeMille, Kazan, Fellini, Capra, Huston, Chaplin. Like, why is Huston here and not, Ford or Wilder instead? Because I like those two more. And Howard Hawks was not even a mention.
oh,
Like, that's a pretty big fuck up. Howard Hawks not
yeah.
even mentioned here.
I feel like there's some notable silent directors that aren't here also.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, okay, like what's the criteria? Should Eisenstein be here? I don't know because I'm so
Yes,
confused.
Eisenstein should be here. Like, no question. Jean Renoir didn't get a mention. Fucking,
Oh,
like, that's a pretty important guy.
what
No
about
Frenchman got a fucking mention.
what about Robert Bresson? I don't
Yeah,
understand. I mean,
like I
that's
mentioned
kind of like live.
Rossellini earlier, but Rossellini should have been here.
I don't get it. I mean, should French New Wave directors be here if it's pre-70s? I don't
Yes,
get it.
Godard should be here. Or Truffaut. I'd be happy with just any represent. Fuck it, put Varda on here. Get me like one woman. Just one. Like this is why so-called woke lists need to exist because this is bland material and half of the fucking movies are about the struggle of the masculine identity. Like it's so fucking lame and boring. Like half of these filmmakers made shit about the same thing. Vertigo included is also about the same fucking boring like masculine power drive. Like I hate it. We don't have anybody here except for a few doing things that are cool.
I mean, at least Bergman loves his women, but
Bergman and Fellini get a pass here. It's
oh,
fine.
but Bergman isn't on the list.
Oh yeah, he's an honorable mention. Like people wonder why film communities have been dominated by like the same fucking film bros, and the reason is because when we go to learn about who we should watch, everyone says the same 10 or 15 people are the best, and they all have the same fucking thing to say.
It kind of
They
reminds
might
me
say
of
it
when
differently, but
yeah, I mean, I feel like people really rely on a canon. For some people, that canon is more like is kind of like that classic Hollywood, and that's kind of what's reinforced through like film history classes and stuff. And I get why there's a canon, but I feel like if you don't go beyond that to some extent or challenge it, what is the point
I
to
think that's why it's
constantly just do the
interesting, like,
same
because that
thing?
Sight and Sound list came out recently. By the time this video came out, it probably came out like a few weeks ago. But I like the disruption. I like that a million people are now watching a Chantal Ackerman movie, right? Like, I like the
Yeah.
disruption. It's fun. Do I think it's
Well, it's
number one?
better.
Doesn't matter if I do. I think that that canons need to be disrupted, and they need to be disrupted now.
Well, I do think that like watching this video kind of made me think about, oh yeah, I probably should catch up on some of these guys. But at the end of the day, I also think that like it's I'm gonna be hard pressed if I actually end up thinking that John Huston's better than Ingmar Bergman.
Right? Or Elia Kazan. Like, what is he doing here?
People just really like I guess On the Waterfront and Streetcar Named Desire. But
Like those films could be here for like if it was the top 10 best performances, and you wanted to throw Brando in there, I'd be like, yeah, of course. Of course, no question. He changed the world in that film. Elia did nothing. Brando did everything.
mhm, I
But
agree.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think we're nearing the end of this video. I think there were a lot of hot takes, to be honest.
Yeah.
But thank you for watching, Jane. Thank you for joining me on this high quality reaction content that I've been enjoying doing. Well, people want to see me talk about movies, but I don't want to review them, so this is what we're doing now.
Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you for joining.